Hello, I hope you're all doing well. This is going to be a very relaxed video today. I just thought I hadn't taken you through some plant updates in a while, and I put aside a full day the other day to just do kind of some plant care for myself, because I've been really bad at making time to do that recently. It's been very tick boxy, it's been very running around with a watering can, just getting things done because I'm falling behind. Life's just been quite busy. So yeah, I put a full day aside. I went through pretty much every single one of my plants. I did just kind of the general watering, pruning, kind of winterfying, getting them ready for winter. And I came across quite a lot of things, some good, some bad, some that I've dealt with already, some that I haven't, and I thought I would just take you through some of those things today. But first, if you're new here, hi, my name's Claire and this is Yoli. I make videos all about houseplant care, sharing tips and tricks I've learned over the years to help keep your plants happy and healthy. And yeah, I've got some exciting updates to give you today. Some things that I haven't really spoken about in a while, some other things that are going a little bit wrong, but I hope you enjoy it, and let's get into it. So I'm aware that my background is a little bit chaotic and messy today. That is partly because we're in the process of moving Ross in, which is very exciting, but it has just meant that kind of juggling work and life and all that sort of stuff. It's been running back and forth with boxes, dumping stuff here, there, everywhere, and we've still got a lot to do. So yes, that's why it may, well actually, you know what, on screen it looks pretty good. I was going to say may or may not look like I'm living in absolute chaos, but this camera makes everything look lovely. I have, however, forgotten the first plant that I was going to show you, so let me grab it. So this is starting with a positive update. My Philodendron Dean McDowell is just absolutely exploding with growth at the moment. She's giving me beautiful foliage, and I'm really happy with how this plant's growing. But the update that I wanted to give you is because I know a while ago I said I didn't particularly want to cut this plant. I wanted to just let her keep growing, but she had reached the end of her trough planter. And I said, had anybody had any luck with kind of guiding the main stem just around? And I tried, and I have succeeded. I might need to put some clips in so you can see a little bit clearer, but she has actually just started to kind of, I say naturally, not naturally, I've helped, but just bend herself round. So now instead of growing that way, she's gonna just loop. And obviously when she gets to the end of the trough planter, I probably will need to give her a chop and propagate her. I mean, I was actually talking to boring Ross with plant stuff the other day, talking to him about this, and he was like, maybe you could get a really long trough planter and get a massive one going. I think crawling plants are just often a little bit of a pain because they do take up so much space. But I love this plant. I do, I'm not gonna lie, I do think I would love this plant even more if it was an upright climbing plant. But I just think it's beautiful. Like, those pillowy leaves are just to die for. And this new leaf that it's getting ready to give me, it looks like it's going to be absolutely ginormous. So yeah, I will make sure to show you that when it arrives. It's just growing like a weed. Honestly, like, a lot of my plants are starting to, I mean, not massively slow down yet, but like some of them haven't given me that much new growth recently. And this one just keeps going and going and going. I know it's a plant that doesn't require a huge amount of natural light compared to some of my others, but it's just growing like crazy. Like, look at it. But yeah, I'm very proud of this plant. Very happy I managed to get it to do what I wanted it to do. And yeah, I will continue to keep you updated with it. And then this next one is, it's an update, but I don't know what the update's going to be because I thought it would be better to do it together because I'm scared. And this plant is just making me, I was going to say hopeful, not hopeful at all. It's making me sad. It is my Philodendron esmeraldense narrow form, and I love this plant. I got this as a cutting for my birthday fairly recently, and If you watched the video where everything went a little bit wrong and I discovered rot on this plant, then you will know, but I tried to propagate this one in semi-hydro. When I say semi-hydro, I mean Ladybird or the Ladybird equivalent. I have propagated some plants successfully in that way, but I've never done it with Philodendron before, and I kind of wish that I hadn't. Because yeah, this plant completely rotted. I am fairly certain that this plant is doomed, but it is, however, hanging on in there and it's still looking lovely. So I put it in sphagnum moss and I hoped that maybe it might form some roots. I think the rot's probably too far gone, but I thought I would have a look with you guys today. Please keep your fingers crossed. I really hope it's going to be the start of some roots, but I'm doubtful. No. So that's what it's looking like. I mean, I don't think the rot's got any worse. I did soak this in hydrogen peroxide before I put it into sphagnum moss. I'm gonna just keep it in sphagnum moss, I think, until this leaf dies back. Just like in the 1 in a million chance that it somehow roots from somewhere else. I know that's just not gonna happen, but I need to feel like I've given this plant every single chance. So I'm gonna put it back in sphagnum moss. I'm gonna put it back in my cabinet. And to be honest, I don't think I'm gonna check on it anymore now. I don't think there's much point. I think I'm just gonna leave it in there and make sure the moss stays hydrated. And at some point, potentially, probably have to bin this plant. But you never know. You never know. So, although it's not looking hopeful so far, it could change. And then this is, unfortunately, another slightly sad one. Oh, I've just realised that plant has got very long again. I need to chop it back. But I have spoken a lot over the years about my calathea orbifolia and how much I love that plant, and actually how it's not that difficult once you get to know it. And I do stand by that. This plant has actually not given me that much grief in probably about 5 years. However, I got home last week after the manic weekend of Plant Swap and Comic-Con and all of the stuff that I vlogged in that video. I came home to chaos, plant stuff that needed doing, Ross stuff that needed unpacking, all of that sort of stuff. And I did really neglect my plants over that period. And oh my goodness, my calathea orbifolia was not looking good. And so I have had to chop her right back. Like she's currently in semi-hydro. She's in Ladybird at the moment, and the reservoir, I just had completely forgotten to fill it before I went away. It was probably empty and bone dry for around about a week, and all of her leaves had started browning and curling, and she just looked awful. And I feel so bad because I love this plant. So I've chopped away probably about 80% of her leaves just because all of them were so dead and crispy looking that I didn't think there was going to be much. I could do. I have got some new growth coming up, which is really encouraging, and I have got some leaves that were savable. Some of these have got some browning on them, but I thought I would just leave them be. But I'm kind of not starting from scratch with this plant, but she was doing so well before, and I'm really sad that I've let it get to this stage because this is completely my own fault. But I gave her a proper spa day after I'd chopped away all the dead leaves. I got her in the shower, I gave her a really good rinse, I kind of dusted her leaves, I cut away all the old stems so that she'd be less likely to rot, and I think so far she's doing very well. I've also moved my big kind of industrial humidifier to be right next to her, so she's going to have wonderful humidity in that area, and I really hope she bounces back quickly. I mean, the calathea orbifolia, I was going to say, is it a fast growing plant? I haven't noticed mine to be massively fast growing in the last kind of year, let's say, just because she's always been so full. I haven't really noticed new growth that much. But I have also grown calathea from quite small plants before, and they do grow quite quickly when they're happy. So I really hope that maybe, I don't know, in a few months' time, she might be kind of getting back to where she was before, but again, it's another one that I'll let you know how she's doing. I will keep you updated with. But yeah, just for the time being, I've got her in that very empty gap just by the TV there. That's where she usually lives, and it just looks very sparse. She was like, I don't know, she was beautiful and green and full and luscious there before, and it now just looks a little bit strange when I put her there. So maybe I'll relocate her. I don't know. But yeah, I will let you know. And then this is a little bit of a silly one. This isn't particularly a plant update. This is a new plant that I have just got myself, but I wanted to include it in this video because I wanted to celebrate my own achievements. So this is a black coral snake plant. I have had one of these before. I do think they're lovely plants. They are so easy to look after. I just love snake plants so much. But if you're over on my Patreon, then you'll know that a while ago, probably about 3 months ago now, I did my very first solo drive. So I passed my test about 6 years ago, and I have just never got a car. I've had no reason to drive, and I am now insured on Ross's car, so I'm starting to get back in the driver's seat, but it is something that really scares me. And so I did my first solo drive a few months ago, haven't done one again since, and Ross the other day said, can I drive him into town to get his hair cut? And I did, and he hopped out the car, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to take myself for a drive. I'm going to conquer this fear head on. And I went for like a 25 minute, is that exaggerating? A 20 to 25 minute drive by myself, and I came across a garden centre, and I was like, what better way to celebrate and encourage me to get back into the driver's seat more than by going out and giving myself gifts? So that's what I did. I hopped out, I did a perfect park, I might add. I hopped out of the car at the garden centre, I went in and I saw this one, and I was like, you know what, this is beautiful and I think I deserve it. So despite the fact that I probably shouldn't be bringing more plants into my home when I'm attempting to move another person in, I did get myself a relatively big new plant. But I'm really happy with it, and it reminds me of the fact that I can do this. So yeah, it's one that I really love, and I'm excited to watch grow. And the fact of the matter is, this is a plant, and this is me completely justifying this now, but this is a plant that can survive in pretty much any lighting conditions. It is very capable of surviving in lower light. It doesn't require a huge amount of care, so it's not like I'm putting more stress on myself in that sense. It just looks lovely, and I'm really happy with it. So yeah. And then this is something that I decided to change up. I've been thinking about this for a while. So this is my Anthurium regale, and this is a plant that, as you will probably know, I have struggled with quite a lot in the time that I've had. And I've had several comments actually saying this over the last few months since I transferred this plant to semi-hydro, but also there were a couple of you that I spoke to at the plant swap that just kind of added to that and made me think that, okay, you know what, this is the right thing to do and I should just get on and do it. And that is pot it in a much taller pot and get the aerial roots that were exposed at the top buried in the pon. And the only reason that I haven't done this sooner is just because I think this was essentially taken off another plant, which in fact there's a few concerning things with this plant. This is like a whole different tangent, but I'm a little bit worried that this plant might have been a poached plant. I'm not entirely sure, and I didn't know that when I bought it. I bought it from a very reputable company, but the way that my plant is structured, it looks like it might have been poached, just because it's kind of growing attached to a massive chunk that is not one that you typically find, I was going to say in captivity, in a home environment. It's something that usually looks like it's been very much taken out of the wild. But anyway, as I say, that's a conversation for another time. But the only reason that I didn't put it like this sooner is because I was worried that that big chunk that it was attached to, because that wasn't really alive, I was worried that that would start to rot and then maybe bring down the whole plant, because I have suffered with stem rot in anthuriums before. It's how I lost my first Anthurium morocquianum, and I just didn't want anything to happen to this plant. So I was keeping it so that the bottom of its roots were very kind of submerged, and it seemed okay like that. Like, it gave me this new leaf in the time that I had it like that, but the texture on this leaf is just a little bit mottled. I know I have spoken about this in other videos, but it's just not as healthy as I think it could be. So yeah, I decided to bite the bullet, and I just thought, you know what, this plant isn't doing amazingly anyway. Let's listen to you guys and listen to the lovely people that I met at the plant swap, and let's pot it like this and see if it makes a difference. So yeah, I'm really hoping that perhaps now, as you can see, it is starting to give me a new leaf just there, but perhaps now I might start to notice some really good changes in the plants. I'm not sure, but it will be interesting to see. I feel like it's kind of just, for me, like a bit of a process of elimination with this plant at the moment, because I'm still striking the balance. I'm still trying to figure it out. And I know it's been over a year since I've had this plant, but I don't always think it's a easy, straightforward journey. It comes down to so many factors. And there are a lot of plants that I still to this day do really struggle with, and certain types of Anthuriums are 100% of the case when it comes to that. So yeah, this is what I'm trying. I do hope it will work, and if it doesn't, I will continue to change things until I find something that does work. But yeah, again, I'll let you know how it goes. If anybody's got any tips for this plant, if you grow this plant well, let me know what you're doing. It is still currently in my cabinet, and that's one thing that I'm thinking about changing, because I know that sometimes these types of plants don't need like ridiculous levels of light. They don't need that much heat. So maybe I'll take it out of my cabinet, but I'm not sure. So yeah, as I say, if you know, let me know. And then next to it, so I've got two next to it, and this is quite sad actually. When I was having my plant care day the other day, and I was kind of pottering around with my watering can, having a great time, I did not just one, but two very silly things in very quick succession, and both to the same type of plant. So I've got two bear paw cactuses, and the first one is a variegated one that I have banged on about before. I absolutely love. And it's been growing really well for me, and I put it on the side to water it. I was just giving it a little check over, and I knocked it off the kitchen cabinet and it fell on the floor and it broke. So I've currently just placed it back in soil. I've never propagated the bear paw cactus before, so from what I can see from other people's videos, this seems to be the best way to do it. If you've got another way, let me know as soon as possible. Please drop me a comment, because I really want to make sure that I can save this section of plant. It's absolutely gorgeous, and I really love it, and I can just be so clumsy, so clumsy. In fact, one of my Macodus petola jewel orchids, if you've been here on my channel for quite a while now, probably about a year and a half, you'll know that I at one point said I thought I was just jinxed with that plant, because it wasn't that anything was particularly going wrong with it, but wherever I would put it, I would knock it off and I would break it. And that happened to me, I think about 5 or 6 times, and I actually got a different plant of it at one point, and the same thing happened again. And I haven't got the plant since, because I just seemed incapable I didn't seem capable of not breaking it. So yeah, I know that's a silly thing to say. However, about 5 minutes after I did that, the exact same thing happened with my big bear paw cactus, and now I've got lots and lots and lots of beautiful leaf cuttings. I have still got some of the mother plant that is doing well. Like, I put it back in my window box. It wasn't all of the leaves that came off, but it was a fair few. And I was just like, what are the odds? What are the odds of it both happening to a bear paw cactus? I don't know what that's about, and I don't know if it's a massive coincidence, but I've now got probably about 18 of these little bear paw leaves, and again, they're beautiful. I would love to be able to grow plants, like full plants, out of them, or get them back in with the same pot as the mother plants. These ones I'm just kind of leaving to callus at the moment. In fact, they 100% are calloused, so I'd like to pot them up probably today or tomorrow. So again, I will probably instinctually go in the same way as I have with these ones, but I'm not quite sure, so please let me know. Oh, but also, Another update that I wanted to give you, and potentially a way that I could propagate the bear paw cactus, but again, I don't know if it would 100% work, is I tried propagating some succulents using Lechuza Pon recently. And this was just kind of a bit of an experiment. I've only ever done it with like damp kitchen roll or damp soil before, and I saw no reason that it wouldn't work with semi-hydro. But yeah, I've just, I put some pon in there, I put a teeny tiny reservoir at the bottom, and then I lay a big Echeveria leaf along with some Burrow's tail cuttings, or I say cuttings, leaves that had just fallen off. And all of them are starting to put out bits of new growth, and I can see that they are now rooting down into the substrate as well, which I'm really, really excited about, because this was the easiest thing in the world. I literally just filled it, put it over there, haven't had to worry about fungus gnats or anything like that, because obviously this isn't organic matter. Because often when I'm keeping soil hydrated for succulent propagation, that's when I tend to get fungus gnats. So that has eliminated that issue. But I'm thinking, could I just do the same with bear paw? Could I just lay some of those on top of the substrate, and would it root in the same way? I've got enough to be able to experiment, so I may just give that a go. But yeah, that's what I'm thinking. But yeah, I also just wanted to show you these because I'm really happy that it's working in this way. And then finally, I know I usually do kind of like a 10 updates, and I don't think this actually is 10 today, but I only wanted to talk about things that I actually wanted to talk about. Sometimes I'm like, oh, well, I haven't done an update on that plant in a while, so I should do an update. These are literally just the ones I put to one side when I was going through doing my plant care day. But obviously, finally, it is my variegated Alocasia Frydek, and I thought I would mention this one because this is one that has not been giving me grief recently, but I have encountered some issues with. And again, if you're on my Patreon, I did a live repotting chat last week, a couple of weeks ago, and I was essentially just pest treating the whole time during that video because I came across an area that this plant was in that had spider mites, and oh my goodness, spider mites at this time of year particularly are a nightmare. Like, they love warm, dry air, so as soon as radiators go on, obviously that naturally lowers the humidity. It just feels a little bit more artificially warm in your homes, and they love that, and they breed like wildfire. So yeah, I decided to treat all of the plants in that area, and this one, it was doing okay. I don't think I saw any spider mites actually on this plant specifically. But I did also just give it a little bit of a chop back. There were a couple of leaves that looked like they were on their way out. It was doing a little bit of the Alocasia cycling thing again, which I thought I'd overcome with this plant. However, I think just because we are going into the darker winter months, that's probably why. But the one thing that I have noticed, despite it having had a chop up and a pest treatment, is that the size of its growth is really increasing now. Like, I know I managed to get it out of the one leaf phase, and I'm very glad that I did, but for a very long time all of the growth it was giving me was still only about this big. And it's actually, I'll put it next to my face for kind of like a size reference, but it's actually starting to get a fairly decent size now. It's almost knocking on the same size as my non-variegated Alocasia Mitchellitziana. So again, if I could just get it to continue to size up, I'd be really happy. I'd be really proud, because it's starting to feel more like a well-established plant now. And as I say, I've got a bit of drooping going on. I've got a few things that need attention, but on the whole, I'm really happy with how it's doing. But yeah, pest treatment and pest checking is something that is just very high on my agenda at the moment. I feel like since I've done my like big sweep of plant care, it's almost been a little bit of a reset for me, and it's allowed me to go in there with like a fresh pair of eyes and think, okay, right, now I'm on top. It's easier to stay on top sometimes than it is to get on top, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I found it very useful to go through and actually feel now like I'm at a place where I can just like monitor things and hopefully deal with things straight away, more so than I was before. But yeah, those are the updates that I wanted to give you today. I'm sure there will be more coming as I discover more things, because I've still got the bedroom plants to deal with. I've still got some fungus gnatty issues in there, so we'll get to that. But yeah, I hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, have a lovely day, and I will see you in the next video.
Stay sexy, plant lovers.